Commander Zethkar watched the approaching refugee vessels through the observation deck of Sanctuary Station, his 4 eyes narrowing with practiced disdain. The Galactic Council had dumped another problem on his doorstep. Survivors from the EI, human homeworld of Terra, recently devastated by the Void Swarm. Like all civilized species, the Zelthani had reluctantly agreed to provide temporary shelter for the displaced primitives. "How many this time?" he asked his aide, Lieutenant Yaxnil. 3,000 humans, sir. The manifest lists mostly civilians. Engineers, construction workers, miners. Nothing militarily significant. Zethkar's mandibles clicked with amusement. Humans were notorious throughout the galaxy for their backward technology and primitive, social structures. They had only achieved faster-than-light travel a mere 50 years ago, making them practically Stone Age by galactic standards. The fact that the Void Swarm had overwhelmed their defenses surprised no one. "Have them dock at Base 7. The standard refugee protocols apply: basic shelter, minimal rations, and work assignments in the lower maintenance sectors. We can't have them thinking this is permanent." The first shuttle touched down 12 hours later, and Zethkar observed from his office as the humans disembarked. They looked exactly as expected: soft, bipedal creatures with their ridiculous hair and exposed skin. Unlike proper civilized beings, they wore no environmental suits despite the station's atmospheric differences. Their leader, a female with graying hair, approached the security checkpoint with what appeared to be confidence rather than the proper submissive gratitude. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen, Chief Engineer of the Terra Colonial Administration," she announced to the reception officer. "We appreciate Sanctuary Station's hospitality and would like to discuss our accommodation arrangements." The Zelthani officer, following protocol, directed the humans to the designated refugee sectors, converted cargo bays in the station's lower levels. Zethkar expected complaints about the cramped conditions, demands for better quarters, perhaps even tears. Instead, something unusual happened. The humans began measuring things. Within the first hour, they had produced strange instruments from their personal belongings and started calculating load-bearing capacities, atmospheric flow rates, and structural integrity coefficients. Dr. Chen approached the duty officer with a formal request. "We'd like to make some modifications to optimize living conditions," she said politely. The duty officer, assuming this meant hanging some personal decorations or rearranging sleeping mats, approved without consulting higher authority. Zethkar first noticed something was wrong 18 hours later, when his engineering staff reported unusual power fluctuations in the lower sectors. By the time he arrived to investigate, he found something that made his 4 eyes blink in rapid succession. The humans had completely transformed 3 cargo bays. Where once there had been empty metal chambers, now stood what could only be described as a miniature city. Multi-level structures rose from the deck plating, constructed from repurposed maintenance panels, environmental ducting, and various station components that the humans had somehow convinced the automated systems to provide. Sophisticated lighting arrays illuminated clean corridors between family quarters, while hydroponic gardens grew in carefully calibrated environmental chambers. "How?" was all Zethkar managed to say. Dr. Chen emerged from what appeared to be a central command center, her hands covered in some kind of metallic dust. "Commander, we were hoping to speak with you. We've identified several inefficiencies in your station's design that we could help optimize." "You built this in 18 hours? "Well, we had 3,000 engineers, construction specialists, and mining equipment operators with nothing else to do," Chen replied matter-of-factly. "Plus, your fabrication systems are quite sophisticated once you understand the interface protocols. We wrote some quick subroutines to streamline the process." Zethkar's mandibles hung open. The Zelthani had owned this station for over 2 centuries, and their best engineers had never achieved construction speeds even approaching what he was witnessing. "The power fluctuations. Oh, that. We've actually improved overall efficiency by 17%. Your energy distribution network had some bottlenecks that we cleared up. We also took the liberty of reinforcing structural weak points we identified in sections 12 through 19. The gravitational stress patterns suggested potential hull breaches during emergency maneuvers. Before Zethkar could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. His communication device crackled with urgent reports. "Commander, we have incoming void swarm signatures. Estimated arrival in 4 hours." The bridge erupted into chaos as Zelthani officers scrambled to implement evacuation procedures. Sanctuary Station, while large, was primarily a civilian facility with minimal defensive capabilities. Standard protocol demanded immediate retreat to the inner system. "Belay that order." Dr. Chen's voice came through the communication system. Somehow the humans had accessed the station's command network. "Commander, we'd like to make you an offer." Zethkar found himself in the human-constructed command center, surrounded by displays showing the station's systems in far greater detail than he'd ever seen. The humans had apparently created their own sensor networks and defensive analysis algorithms. "The Void Swarm uses predictable attack patterns," Chen explained, highlighting tactical projections on the displays. "They rely on overwhelming numerical superiority against static defenses. However, their coordination algorithms have exploitable weaknesses." "This station cannot survive a Void Swarm assault," Zethkar protested. "Not in its current configuration," agreed Chen. "But give us 3 hours." What followed was the most intensive engineering project Zethkar had ever witnessed. The humans swarmed through every section of the station like a coordinated organism. They rerouted power systems, reconfigured shield generators, and somehow convinced the fabrication systems to produce weapons components that weren't in their databases. Dr. Chen later explained that human engineering philosophy differed fundamentally from standard galactic practices. Where other species designed for efficiency and elegance, humans designed for adaptability and rapid modification under pressure. "We call it creative improvisation," she said while watching her teams install improvised weapon platforms. "When your homeworld regularly experiences natural disasters, you learn to build things that can be rebuilt quickly." When the Void Swarm arrived, they encountered something unprecedented in their hive mind experience, a space station that fought back like a living creature. Human-modified defensive systems adapted to their attack patterns in real time, while improvised weapons platforms emerged from concealed positions throughout the station's structure. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, Sanctuary Station had not only survived but had completely annihilated the Void Swarm formation. Commander Zethkar stood in the redesigned command center, watching as the humans began planning permanent improvements to the station's defenses. Through the observation windows, he could see construction crews already working on expansion projects. "Dr. Chen," he said finally, "perhaps we should discuss making your people's stay more permanent." Chen smiled, a peculiar human expression that Zethkar was beginning to recognize as indicating satisfaction. "We were hoping you'd say that, Commander. We've identified several design improvements that could make this the most advanced station in the sector." As reports came in from across the galaxy about human refugee groups transforming their temporary shelters into fortress worlds, Zethkar began to understand that the galaxy had vastly underestimated these strange, adaptable creatures. They had expected broken refugees. Instead, they had received master builders who treated every challenge as an opportunity for improvement. The humans, it seemed, were just getting started.